Welcome to Milestone Moments, the show where we explore the journeys that lead to success. I'm Sheila Slick, your host and founder of 5 Milestones. In every episode, we will bring you insights from the minds of entrepreneurs, leaders, and experts who will share not just their expertise, but the milestone moments that have reshaped their journeys and led to significant achievements. So if you're looking for motivation, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and discover the milestones that mark the path to success. Welcome to another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership. I'm your host, Sheila Slick, and today my special guest is Susan Fry. Susan has over 25 years of experience in business, and she is owner of Susan Fry LLC. And as a successful entrepreneur and mother of 4, she is passionate about guiding women entrepreneurs to scale their businesses without sacrificing their well-being. Over the past 2 decades, she has helped women rediscover their purpose, reclaim their energy, and achieve a fulfilling balance in all areas of life. Welcome to the show, Susan.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I can't wait to learn more about what you do. But my first question that my curiosity leads me there is, how did you get to doing what you do today? What was that spark that went off in your brain that said, this is what I want to do? Because you've been doing it for 25 years.
Right. Well, it started out in health and wellness. It really started when I was 20 years old with a bottle of herbs. I had gotten married. I was constipated. I had grown up on antibiotics and fast foods, had earaches continually. But so when I got married at 20, I had a severe problem with constipation. And my mother found this lady that gave me a bottle of herbs that really helped. So when I finished the bottle, I went back to this lady and she started teaching me about iridology, herbology, and that's where it all began. My passion for health and wellness, which led me to what I do today. Then I had 4 children at home. I had them all home birth. They never had an antibiotic, and I started taking classes and courses continually. My husband used to say, "Honey, why don't you buy some furniture instead of taking classes and courses and spending the money on supplements?" But I couldn't stop myself. I was learning so much, and I started feeling so good. And then I can tell you more. How it went into. Do you want me to tell you more now?
Sure, because it sounds like it started with herbs, a natural kind of coaching.
It
But
started.
now you evolved to business coaching, where it sounds like, and I think you had explained it, it's all holistic, correct?
Right, yeah. It started out with the physical. So nowadays, when I look at a person, I'm looking at them physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I tell people all the time, it's like 4 tires on a car. If one goes flat, you're not going anywhere. But what happened to me was, so I started taking classes and courses. I started feeling good, which of course led me to the emotional mental work because, and then I met my mentor uh, in my early 30s, and he taught me how to genuinely love myself, not just fluff, but to really down in my heart and soul. It's really about your identity, knowing who you are and what you want, and loving yourself. And so, but what happened to me was then I worked with him for 10 years. And when my youngest got into kindergarten, I started doing nutritional analysis. And I had an office in the front of our home. And I worked also with Larry, it was my mentor. And what he what I would do, I'd do these nutritional analysis. It was back during the 90s, the early 2000s, when women were the thing was to be stick thin. I mean, like, 00 below, you know? And so I would have all these women come to me and they'd say, "I wanna be skinny." I was thin. I was a size 0, and, they would come to me and I could tell them everything to take. If I didn't know anything, then my mentor could tell, my teacher, he would help me out. So I'd give them everything, and then they would come back the next week and would say, I would listen to all their fears, their sabotage, their excuses, and it just went, on and on. And finally, I got to the point where when women would come to me and they say, "I want to be skinny," I'd say, "No, you don't." And they would look at me like I'm crazy, and they would say, "Yes, I think about it 24/7." And I would say, "Well, if you wanted to be skinny, you'd be skinny." And so we'd go into this, but I'd say, "Well, maybe consciously you want to be skinny, but subconsciously you don't. And until you get to that core issue, you're gonna yo-yo diet the rest of your life." And so then and another time, and so I started a class called Love Yourself Then. Then I had men come to me and they would say, "Well, you help my wife with this. Can you help me with my business?" And I was helping people start businesses. I was helping them use the same process to scale their business. I had a lady come to me once. She had a stack of books and she said to me, "You cleared my fear in 2 hours, and for 3 years, I've been taking courses and classes. How did you do it?" And I told her I didn't know. Well, and she says, "Will you write it down?" So that's when I started writing down the Simply Love process that I use today. And, so then I went into the mindset work, and then, of course, the spiritual work. Since COVID, I've been focusing on a person's true identity at the core, who they believe they are subconsciously. This is where it all starts. And this is what we all want. We all want to experience that joy and happiness. Well, it comes in being who you really are, not who you want to be, not who you think you should be, not who you've defined yourself as. Too many people get lost in this and doing all of these things, and they don't even know who they are. They're not loving it. Okay, go ahead.
I have a question. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to say I have a question.
No, I probably stop me when I'm going on, but I mean,
It's all good. I love listening. It's just when you did that, my heart started kind of racing because I've been doing a lot of self-discovery, which I do. I call it self-leadership. But and so I'd love your opinion. I'm a firm believer that your identity changes, right? It's so you have to take that time to refigure out what's going on currently in your life because it is okay to change that. So that was
well,
just my question, my curiosity to you. How do you view the self-identity? Do you help them refigure out who they are today or
you can see, no, I help them to discover who they are. I have a belief you don't change your identity. You came here. I believe you are a child of God. You are loved. You are loved. And you are part of this universe that is held together with love. But people don't get that. And so they're trying to be somebody because they're trying to feel loved. A lot of women out there are now trying to prove and their themselves and trying to have some kind of identity. The branding thing has got everybody, well, I gotta be this, that. Now, you can choose who you become, but your core identity is intact. It came here when you were born. This is my beliefs. You were born. I know from my children, the way they came out, those first few hours, they still are that way today. My first one came out with this like kissy little look on her face, and she's always been that way. And you cannot change. That's the thing now. People are trying to change their identity. You cannot change who you are. You have certain strengths, and now who you become in that identity is your choice. That's my thoughts on it. So that's why I think a lot of people are getting confused. They're trying to be somebody, they're trying to define themselves, they're working their butts off trying to prove themselves, where I'm saying just stop. It's not that complicated. Let's just back up and love, accept, and honor who we already are. It's much easier. It's so much easier. And and people are good. I mean, I'm not trying. I think we all need to work on who we want to become. We have a, you can choose good or you can choose bad. You can choose, you know, who you want to become, but you got to get that core identity that you are love. So many people, go ahead.
No, when I say I have a question, please finish your sentence. I just
No,
want you to
no,
know,
go
like a student,
ahead.
right? Like I got okay. There's 3 words I wanna touch back up from your
Sure.
intro that, make my heart fluctuate. So one of them is rediscover purpose. So what I would love, I mean, you have 25 years of over 25 years of experience. Um, and you deal with limiting beliefs, right? You deal with rediscovering purpose. So let's start with rediscovering purpose. I'd love for you to kind of give me an example or put it in the context of when you feel that people are at that stage. When do you feel that people look for you to or where you feel you need to help them rediscover purpose? What does that look like?
Their purpose, you mean? Or their discovered the well, when you know who you are and you know what you want, you will know your purpose. Um, and you gotta have it's I have a program too called the Creator Program, and that's where it's a journey to truth, alignment, and synchronicity. And you can find clarity, release dissonance, and create your reality. Now that's we can create. And why clarity matters is the real barrier isn't capacity, but clarity, knowing what's true about yourself and the world. Self deception creates frequency dissonance, a misalignment with your brain and body that clouds discernment and disrupts flow. And this dissonance disconnects you from your creator self, your purpose, leaving you reactive rather than intentional. So I use the 3 R's: record, reflect, realign to provide a simple science backed cycle to restore clarity, align your frequencies, and unlock your synchronicity. Basically, I help people clear the lies they tell themselves about themselves. If you don't get those lies out, I mean, if you're living a lie, which we all lie to ourselves, then you are not going to know your purpose. You're not living on purpose. I can go on, but
So
does that answer it or did
no,
I?
no, it does, but it was almost so deep that I have to, process it because, I loved how structured it is. I love structure. Are these women in midlife? Is it young mothers? Is it teenagers? Is it retirees? At what point would you say, in average, the kind of people that I deal with are this demographic?
Okay, so I basically deal with people who want to be who they are, who are seeking that. They're hungering that light, which is already inside of them. It's just most people are looking outside of themselves. So I do not work with people. I can tell I can meet with them on a discovery call. And if they really want help, even though you may have a lot of traumatic, you know, experiences, childhood, whatever, I can still help them if they want it. But I don't work with people that are, there's a lot of victims out there now, and a lot of people making excuses and a lot of lies that are being told, right? So the type of people I work with, all walks. I like working with women specifically and helping them heal their hurts, guiding them and counseling them because we as women, we're tender. If we're being who we are. I mean, we're strong, but at the same time, um, we all need help. We like the nurturing aspect of being a woman and helping each other out. But
So speaking of that woman, what one key takeaway or a golden nugget can you leave them with today so that you can leave them something to think about?
well, a truly empowered woman knows who she is and what she wants, and you can choose it. We have the power of choice. The power of choice is it's incredible. So when you know the truth of who you are, there's practically nothing you can't do. So the nugget is uncover and release the lies you tell yourself about yourself. Okay. And then build aligned habits, with who you really are, you know, and live as the creator. So you're living on purpose. I'm trying to think here. There's a lot of it for each person. It's different. That's why it's so important to know who you are. Like when I work with people, sometimes I start out with the physical, emotion, or is it emotional, mental, or spiritual, but mainly it's just look at the lies you're telling yourself about yourself and see your true identity that you're love. You're a divine being of light. You're an energy body. And clear those lies out. Be who you are is but most people, this is the thing, most people today do not want to be who they are subconsciously. And you know why? Why wouldn't somebody want to be who they are? Because once you are who you are, your business scales. Your life is fulfilling. It's flourishing. But subconsciously, a lot of people do not want to be who they are. Do you have any idea why they don't want to be who they are subconsciously? It's just like go back to the diet thing. Those women would tell me, "Oh, I want to be skinny." Well, guys, we have in our life what we want. And if we really wanted to be skinny, we'd be skinny, right? Same thing with this is what I'm talking here is in being who you are, why wouldn't you want to be who you are? Do you have any idea? Or do you want me to just tell you?
Tell me, I'm all ears.
Okay. A lot of times people are not being who they are because subconsciously their identity, they think they're bad because of their poor choices, not good enough because of the mistakes they've made. They believe that some people think they're evil because they've gone through abuse. So their core identity of who they are, they think is bad. So they're trying to hide that person and then they go in and create these lies, or they stay in relationships where they're just settling because they're afraid to be who they are, to be seen for who they are, and and subconsciously be found out because they think they're bad because of their poor choices, because they've defined themselves by the world, because of mistakes they've made, and that's simply not true. We all make mistakes. That's and so the clearer you can see that your identity is light, love, and embrace that. Now, what happens is when you do embrace your true self, a lot of people, you'll get rejection. But in there, a person that thinks that they're bad will think, oh, I'm getting rejected because I'm bad. Not true. We're all human. But in being who you are, sometimes you let your light shine, other people don't want to see that light and they're critical and you're afraid of that. But no, you got to keep letting your light shine. Be the light that you are. We're light beings, we're frequencies. So is that too deep or did you?
No, and I loved how you ended it. Be the light that you are. It's almost like boom, we could end the episode now and with the sunshine coming in out of the window.
We're all that light. Every single you can, in yoga is namaste, is salute the divine light in you. I salute the divine light in you. We all have it in us. And we need to look at that. And we are all human. We do have the shadow sides. We're all imperfect. And that's okay because we learn from those imperfections. When I scaled people's businesses, I helped them to turn their weaknesses into their greatest strengths. That's where you'll find a person's greatest strength is in their weaknesses. But they have to accept them first. They have to accept, oh, I made this mistake. I'm imperfect. But too many people in the world now are trying to prove themselves so they can be loved, all the while not being who they are. And it causes chaos in their life and in our country, in our world. So be the light that you are. There we go. That's simple.
Love it. That should be the title of your book. So let's just talk about the how now. You've got programs. You mentioned 2 different programs. How would someone go about working with you? What does that look like, somebody that wants to work with you?
Well, you can get with me on a discovery call, and if we think that it's a fit, because the type of work here is it's really easy, but you have to go deep. You have to self-reflect, And so, but we can do a discovery call, and then from that, if you're interested, I will give you an assessment. And I call it my truth analysis. And what that does is that tells me where you're blocked, what's holding you back, what you need to do to accomplish your goal. So I find out in that session what you want and what you think's holding you back. And then from that assessment, I can build out a 3 to 6 months program. So these programs are very, very personalized. Not everybody's going to be the same, and depending on what you want. But you work on you're scaling your business. You're going to be working on your health. I always look at 4 areas. So what does that look? So then we do the assessment, and then from the assessment, we work weekly for an hour. If you buy one of my big programs, okay? The program, the creative program is a 4-month program, and we meet once a week for an hour on Zoom, sometimes an hour and a half. I also have a wellness formula to help you scale your business. That's a 3-month program. And then we meet once a week on Zoom, and we get in there and I show you how to release these beliefs. So I'm not going to go in there and try to figure out what your problem is, because I will know from the assessment. I will know what the core issues that are running in your subconscious mind, because I've done these assessments now for like 30 years. So a lot of times you'll go to therapy, and in therapy, you work all these weeks trying to find out the core. I tell you the core right there at the beginning. This is the problem. This is the belief. And then from that, yeah, you've got to change some behaviors, but it's much easier. It's kind of, if you go back to the weight thing, I don't like diets, okay? You clear the core issue, and then you make choices, because the power of choice is real, for being healthy, not knuckling it. And it's the same thing in life. You want to choose, and want to choose it from your heart. That's real intent. So anyway, I work with those programs. I'm also coming out with an app, and I'm going to be It's a Mirror Truth app. And what I do with that is then you can do a lot of this work on your own, and then we will just have group coaching once a month. We can do that too. So you're not doing the whole program. But I tell people a lot of times what I can do in 3 to 6 months is like 20 years of therapy because I'm working on the beliefs, not just the behaviors trying to figure out what's going. We clear the belief and then we help you go in there and change the habits. Does that answer your question? So we could do the creative program, the wellness program, and then when my Mirror Truth app comes out, that's something people can do in a community.
So it's one-on-one coaching, and the first step is setting up that discovery call to make sure that, it's a fit for both. And then you have different one-on-one plans.
And I do the assessment and then we decide, but it depends on what you want. And then that personalized program, because everybody's different, you know.
So I normally say, well, what's your next milestone? But I think you've answered that. It's the app,
Yeah.
launching that app.
And doing social media, I would like to build a community where I can do a lot of things with the app too, so that people can do a lot of this work on their own and start, it's a process.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to leave all of your contact information and your website in the summary in the show notes so that anyone interested in reaching out to you can do so.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for having me, Sheila.
And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership. Until next time.